What's going on, everyone? So, the Utah Jazz were reported to be interested in being a part of the Damian Lillard trade, right? That they are interested in a player like Tyler Hero and that they would like to get involved to maybe work out some type of deal to where they could land Hero, right? Or even some other pieces, right? They are kind of in the market for Tyler Hero, but based on the reports, especially from like Jake Fisher, there are several teams right now that are very interested in potentially acquiring Tyler Hero or some of the other pieces that are involved, right? And the Damian Lillard trade is very likely going to turn out to be a 3, 4, maybe 5 team deal, and you're going to have all these interchangeable parts and all these interchangeable pieces. And Utah, if they do end up being a part of the deal, there is several ways that they could go about it and approach it, right? Do they unload Colin Sexton, right? Do they unload, a Jordan Clarkson? Do they unload a Kelly Olynyk, right? Kelly Olynyk kind of makes some sense in a potential trade to get involved. I mean, maybe there's another piece or whatever, but again, this is very likely going to be a multiple team deal. This is very likely going to have several interchangeable parts and interchangeable pieces if the Damian Lillard deal gets done. But Kelly Olynyk is a player that Utah could kind of not really need, right? Kelly Olynyk is a very solid player, right? But he's a guy that is kind of the odd man out because they have now John Collins, Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen. So having a guy in Kelly Olynyk, they can get away with unloading him and potentially using him as the kind of trade piece to kind of tack in and match salaries, right? Again, maybe when all is said and done, it is something like a Kelly Olynyk and a Colin Sexton for whomever. Maybe it's Tyler Hero and like a Caleb Martin or something like that. And then, you have draft picks or whatever going to this team over here or whatever. Because Kelly Olynyk is a addition piece, right? He's making $12.2 million this upcoming season. He's age 32, but next year he's an unrestricted free agent. So some of these teams, like especially Portland, they're not going to want to take on a bunch of unwanted long-term salary. But we're hearing the Phoenix Suns want to maybe acquire Nurk, and they're willing to trade DeAndre Ayton and some other pieces going out, and there's going to be all these interchangeable parts, right? So if that ends up happening, then it's very possible that, like I said, a Sexton and an Olynyk gets waived, and maybe they end up with Portland. Or maybe just Olynyk ends up at Portland and Sexton ends up somewhere else and Nurk goes out. It's gonna be very convoluted and a lot of interchangeable pieces. And that's for them to work out. But the question I want to pose, because this isn't a channel about Damian Lillard and trade, this is a Laker channel. Kelly Olynyk is a piece that if he ends up getting bought out, again, not saying he will get bought out, but he is 32 years old. He is very likely, if Utah gets involved in this deal in some capacity, he is very likely going to get shipped out. Now, if he ends up with a team like Miami, because Miami needs bodies, I don't think it happens. But there are teams like Charlotte, there are teams like, Portland, there are teams like Chicago, various teams that are potentially going to be involved in this deal. And some of those teams are going to be tanking teams that kind of just want him for the expiring salary, right? And just to make salary work, right? So let's say Charlotte gets involved, right? And let's say Charlotte ends up unloading let's say Terry Rozier, right? Maybe Terry Rozier ends up going to Phoenix and whatever, right? And they work out all these pieces and Olynyk ends up in Charlotte. And Charlotte's like, well, we don't want or need Olynyk. Olynyk's like, dude, I'm 32 years old. I don't want to be on a takey team. Buy me out. If the Lakers can get Kelly Olynyk, I would be stoked. I mean, you're talking about a guy, 6'11", right? He's, again, 32 years old. So he's a vet guy. But he's a guy that can do pretty much everything. And he's a really good playmaker and just body out of the post. He's 240 pounds, so he's got some good size, some good weight. He's physical, right? He's aggressive. I mean, he can be a little dirty at times, right? I mean, we all remember what happened with him and Kevin Love, but better to be on our team than somebody else's team if you end up having to have him one way or another. But this is a guy that is a 13, 6, and 4 guy, right? Averages just under a steal, half a block per game. I just think that what better options would there be out there that could potentially get bought out? But in general, even if it's not Kelly Olynyk, the Lakers might end up potentially benefiting from the Dame trade, right? Because again, there could be all kinds of movable parts and pieces. And if some of these rebuilding teams get involved, there may end up being players that get bought out and waived and all kinds of stuff, right? And the Lakers, Miami's going to be a team that probably scoops up several of these guys, right? So Miami would still be the biggest threat because, for example, more likely than not, Miami's going to have to unload 5, 6 guys, right, to get this deal done. So they're going to be trying to just gobble up as many players as they can. But the Lakers, one thing that they could use is just another body in the middle. And I think Kelly Olynyk is a guy that kind of provides some of what we need and some of what the Lakers are looking for, right? Now, he's not like the huge, big body, Dwight Howard type guy. But again, who else is potentially out there to do that? And on a vet minimum deal, I think he's a steal. I mean, this is a guy that shoots almost 40% from 3. He's 39.5% last year from 3 on 3.5 attempts per game. Guy that shoots 57.6% from 2-point range and shot 50% from the field total. 85% free throw shooter. Give you 6 rebounds, 4 assists, so you can even run your offense through him a bit. Put him alongside Anthony Davis. Put him alongside Christian Wood. Put him alongside Jackson Hayes. Gives you another guy to put other pieces in. And he also gives you, not saying that this needs to happen or that it should happen, but he also gives you some leverage if, one, Christian Wood doesn't work out, right? Because what if it's just not working, right? Or he's just continues to be that head case or whatever. Right, Kelly Olynyk can kind of provide you a lot of the same stuff, and you can now risk and afford to lose Christian Wood if need be. The other thing too is if you potentially do a trade, right? What if they do something where they end up trading, say, Rui and D'Lo for a piece or two, right? Or they just trade Rui, or they just trade. It gives you that other body, gives you that veteran guy, gives you a guy that can play multiple positions and fill in multiple gaps and spots, right? I don't know. It's just an idea. I like the idea. But again, in general, I really think the Lakers might end up benefiting from just this Miami Heat trade, because that's what the Lakers are going to wait for with the 15th roster spot is a buyout, is somebody via buyout, right? That's very likely what's going to happen. And again, if somebody makes sense for the Lakers and gets bought out now, then I think the Lakers will grab them now, right? But if it's somebody that, if it's kind of questionable or whatever, then they'll probably wait and be patient. And if you're bringing in Olynyk, you're bringing him in very likely on a non-guaranteed 1-year deal, and he's just another piece trying to win you an NBA championship. That's probably how it goes. But I don't know. It's something that I personally like the idea. It was just a thought when I saw Utah kind of being involved potentially in this trade. And I was like, well, they're going to unload some pieces. And Kelly Olynyk is probably going to be involved. And if he is, that's something that could, potentially benefit the Lakers. But we'll see. Time will tell. But anyway, again, just I could see, again, if several factors come into play, potentially being a benefit to the Lakers, right? I mean, if Rob Pelinka sees a player available that makes sense for this roster, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't jump on that said player. And it just, again, gives insurance, right? Again, if you get a Kelly Olynyk, it gives you Christian Wood insurance. It gives you, maybe if you work out a potential trade later on down the line, insurance. It gives you another solid player and piece to add to this, arsenal that we already have ready and primed and set. But anyway, love to hear your thoughts and opinions, as always. This is a discussion, so let me know down in the comments. Keep in mind, this is just kind of a discussion, like not like something that I expect to happen or necessarily will happen, but just want to kind of explore the possibilities. And maybe it's not Olynyk. Maybe it's somebody else that gets bought out that makes sense, right? Maybe, I mean, look, the Dame trade and impact is very likely something that is going to have some effect on multiple players. And if some of those players end up going to a situation that they don't want or they don't want to be in, especially some of these veteran guys that end up getting moved, maybe the Lakers could end up snagging some of these guys. Maybe it's like a Duncan Robinson or something. But I don't know. Anyway, again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions. However you feel, down in the comments.